Indochina, November 1953 to June 1954. Operation Castor, 20th of November 1953. Paratroops under the command of General Gilles occupy Dien and bitter fighting erupts again in the Thai mountains a year after the Battle of Na San. The 316th Viet Minh Division is advancing on Laos. In the jungle, Thai partisans have taken up arms and are constantly harassing the enemy columns. A new phase in the battle for Indochina has begun. Threatened by our operations and weakened by our attacks, the enemy tries to put up a show against raids by our light forces by intensifying guerrilla warfare and achieving local successes for the sake of propaganda for the local population. Fighter aircraft from the major air bases at Saigon, Turan and Hanoi ceaselessly attack guerrilla bands holed up in the jungle. Once the aerial photographs have been analyzed and the enemy rebels located, the Airborne Operations Commander liaises with Army officers to define the targets to be attacked. 8 fighters take off and regroup precisely on the orders of their squadron leader. The targets are detected after a very short flight in close formation. In a hellish sequence, the fighters dive out of the clouds and napalm bombs burst on the Viet Minh targets. January 1954. The aircraft carrier Arrow is also taking part in the air operations. Its ability to move along the coast of Vietnam allows it to attack the Viet Minh more easily and with guaranteed effectiveness. This is an action to support operations in the Seno-Savannakhet region of central Laos, where the enemy has unleashed an offensive along the 16th parallel in an attempt to cut the country in half. The different fighters strafe and bomb the enemy columns advancing on the Franco-Laotian base of Seno. Returning from their operation, the aircraft land on the ship in turn, following the orders of the aircraft handling officer. February 1954. The battle is unfolding from north to south in the hills and in the paddy fields. The French Expeditionary Force troops are fiercely resisting the Viet Minh attacks. Every weapon and every effort is thrown into the fight. In northern Laos, the battle for Luang Prabang has started. In central Laos, columns from the Seno air base search for an enemy who is hard to find. On the low ground, the enemy suffers a bloody defeat when he tries a diversionary attack in the Plai Khu area. The Air Force tirelessly supports our ground forces. Bristols, Dakotas and Packets constantly load and unload ammunition, equipment and troops at the airfields at Dien Bien Phu, Seno and Luang Prabang. Units fighting in the jungle are resupplied and receive supporting fire from the sky. Dien Bien Phu, equipment is unloaded and the garrison continues to construct defenses around our outposts. The base is threatened by 4 Viet Minh divisions. the enemy attack on Luang Prabang seems to have failed again, Operation Atlanta is underway in central Vietnam, liberating a huge area from communist oppression. Along the coast, the Navy supports the ground troops with the firepower of its warships. At dawn, units landing by sea take the beaches. At sea, the Savognin de Brazza supports our forces on shore. And so soldiers, sailors and airmen, united by combined operations, learn the value of comradeship in the bitter fighting. March 1954. The Viet Minh are brought to a dead stop in central Laos, where they are checked on the 16th parallel. Thanks to rapid organization at the Seno Air Base, our troops, supported by armor, retake the region by operating along Federal Road 13 and the tributaries of the Zabang Phai. In the forest clearings, a typical central Laotian landscape, the inhabitants give our returning troops an enthusiastic welcome and go back to the villages which they had to abandon during the communist raid. Here, as in the north, where the 308th Division is continuing its fighting retreat, enemy efforts against Laos fail. Dien Bien Phu, the greatest and bloodiest battle in Indochina, has begun. These were the Franco-Vietnamese positions on the eve of the first Viet Minh attack. A strong hub of resistance around the air base with three outlying strongpoints, Gabrielle to the north, Beatrice to the northeast, and Isabel to the south. We cannot show you the first pictures from the battlefield. Cameramen from the Armed Forces Film Unit at the outposts of the stronghold paid a heavy price for accomplishing their mission in the early stages of the attack. The photographer Martinov steps on a mine and dies riddled with shrapnel. He rests in the Thai mountains alongside his airborne comrades who died with him. Cameraman André Lebon, an old hand, is seriously wounded and loses a leg. He was decorated by General Gilles only a few weeks ago. From now on, the whole world has its eyes fixed on the heroic stronghold and its defenders, commanded by Colonel de Castres, promoted to general in the thick of the battle. The struggle continues for weeks with unheard-of tenacity. Our units reply to the Viet Minh onslaughts with constant counterattacks, inflicting heavy losses on the communist troops. But thanks to increasing Chinese support, the pincers are gradually closing around our outposts. Gabrielle and Beatrice fall following the heavy fighting of the 13th and 14th of March, and the Viet Minh artillery threatens the runway. French aircraft are the fortress's only link with the outside world. They constantly take part in operations under extremely difficult conditions. While the C-119s drop reinforcements and equipment, B-26 bombers and naval aircraft pound the enemy positions with bombs and napalm with no respite whenever weather conditions permit. On the 30th of March, 4 outposts to the east fall, and the airfield is put out of action. On the 5th of April, the threat to the runway from the northwest increases. By the 2nd of May, the pincers have almost closed around the central redoubt. Isabel still holds out to the south, although cut off. We cannot show you the last pictures of the battle either. Our cameramen, their brothers in arms, and their commander, General de Castres, were swept away by the communist tide. The great silence of anguish and mourning now reigns in the hell's cauldron of the Thai mountains. The indescribable battle is over. Let us pay tribute to the dead, for they are our dead, our comrades. The French army has written a new page of glory and sorrow in the jungle of Indochina. Dien Bien Phu and the men who fought there have become a legend in their own time.